Broadcasting around the world on the World Wide Web. This is
Salma HD Radio,
your number one internet radio station.
Good evening. Good evening. I believe we can start now. Thank you very much for joining us. It's Thursday, and you know that every Thursday we come through on Salma HD Radio, on In His Grace and Mercy platforms, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, to have conversations that enlighten us. You know, we come, we bring different experts, we bring different advocates, activists. We bring anyone and everyone who's able to help us understand the issue that we are addressing, and also to call us to account or to even, channel us to action. So this evening is no different. And, you already know me. My name is Fina, and I'm joined by people that are comrades in the sector. And I know they are joining in their personal capacity. So I won't even say which organizations they come from, because outside of the organizations that we work for, we have made it also our mission to do, the advocacy work, to do the heavy lifting, to mobilize and to get everyone, whether you are in church, whether you are an ordinary citizen, whoever you are, we believe, and I'm sure my panelists also align with this, that you have a call of duty, you have a responsibility to solve problems that exist. We are all called to be problem solvers. It's not a task left to the few. So today, as you saw with the poster that we shared, we are touching on a very triggering and a heavy topic. So I'm just putting out a trigger warning in case when we have this conversation, you feel triggered. We will, in the, as the show goes, give you numbers that you can call, GBV lines that exist. And comrades, please do write those numbers as well in the private chat that we can refer people to, and we will then do that. But before we waste any more time, as we normally do, we open with prayer, because, this is the Church of Christ, and we believe that everything for us starts with inviting God. So before we get into the conversation, allow me to just, say a quick prayer, even as we welcome you, those that are joining us and having this conversation with us. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this opportunity. We appreciate that you have given us this Mudumaka Kairos time where we come together as your people to empower one another, to learn from each other, and to also create awareness around issues. We thank you that you are a God whose love is never ending for your people. This is another way you show love to those that needs love, that needs caring, and we step in the gap as your people to accomplish that which you have assigned for us to accomplish. We thank you. We honor you. Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So before we get into this topic, as usual, please do send your comments, engage with the topic through the comment section. And if you are able to, please also share, so that people can be empowered. So those that have joined, we welcome you. And let me go to my honorable guests. I'll start with Jabu. Jabu, let me start with you. Come in and introduce yourself, and tell us who you are, the way you want us to know you. I think we always allow people to introduce themselves in a way that makes them comfortable, so that when people see you, they don't call you that guy we saw on In His Grace and Mercy, but they know who you are. Over to you, my brother. Just unmute yourself. I think you are still muted.
Thank you very much for having me in here today. My name is Jabu Baloyi. I am a father. I am a husband. I am a church member of the Evangelical Presbyterian Church. I am part of the Moby Grace Foundation, a foundation of my wife, where we assist kids and other destitute people with school uniform, sanitary pads. To me, the gender agenda discourse has kickstarted years ago. It's no longer, even if it's a line of work, it's no longer work, it's a passion of mine. Even now on my way here, we're busy dealing with a case related to this issue that we're going to be discussing with today. And in my other capacity, I'm the spokesperson for the Commission for Gender Equality. Nice for having me. I see a familiar face in Mandisa. We're coming from far, just like you, Fina, a remarkable woman in your own right. For years, I've known you, and I'm glad you started this, because it was long time coming in the way I saw it. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's an MK team, so there's Dr. Kekana in the background, who is also the engine behind this machine that we have. So we appreciate that commentary. Bishop, let's go to you. Introduce yourself as well, and let us know who you are. Start with unmuting yourself.
Thank you very much, Fina. Greetings to all the panelists. My name is Begimpe Mkono, who is the Bishop of the Fortress of Hope Church International, and also the leader of the Church Leaders Council in South Africa. And I'm the father, I'm the husband, I lead the church, and also I lead the organization called Sukumando Tasake, which started in 2009, which is almost working with men and boys directly, but trying to make sure that the family finds its foot in a better way. And also, lastly, I'll say I'm the activist for peace, for stability within the family setting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sure already you can hear that we've brought big guns today, because this topic requires, people who understand issues comprehensively. We are not planning to have a one-sided conversation. We are planning to have a conversation that looks at issues broadly across board. I hope Mandisa is still there. I saw she was there, but it looks like she has disappeared. As she rejoins, let's start with our conversation. Jabu, you say today you were dealing with a case. Yesterday I was dealing with a 15-year-old case. A case of a 15-year-old. Okay, let's pause there and welcome Mandisa back. Mandisa, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mandisa Kanyile. I have been long in the advocacy space around gender-based violence and femicide, starting with the Total Shutdown movement in 2018. Thank you so much for allowing me on to the program, and I look forward to a positive engagement.
Thank you. So I was saying, we hear of cases every day, and it's said that some cases remain just that, cases that no one knows about, that no one takes interest in, because if it doesn't make itself to the media, we hardly then get to know about that. So the reason we want to have this conversation, we've just come out of a national convention that is preparing us to go into dialogues in different settings, in different communities around issues that, we hold very close to our hearts, that South Africa is grappling with, and we're trying to find solutions. And one of the things that is a big issue, and something that is like a thorn in the flesh, that is stubborn and doesn't want to move is this issue of gender-based violence. Just when you think, no, it looks like things are getting there, we are seeing cases being reported, we see police in some communities really being proactive, then you get cases that shock you and you're like, how are we still here? So just as a way of reflecting from each one of you, why do you think the issue of gender-based violence is an issue that we are unable to resolve? What makes it so hard for us to get to the bottom of this issue? Any one of you can take the mic and start.
Okay, can I start?
Yes, go ahead.
One of the things that makes this the scourge not to be eradicated is the political will. We had two presidential summits. All the summits talked about establishing the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide. Yet today, that structure is not there. Second to which, Fina, and those at home, is the issue of the rights that are given unto the perpetrators. The issue of bail, which need to be considered significantly so. Should a person who have done the atrocities against a child of 4 years, a man in Guyana who shot his wife in a mall in the field view of people, unfortunately, and lo and behold, the mob justice took place and they burned him alive inside his car. So those people are likely to be given bail. People of this nature are also paroled, Fina. They come in majority. People who are paroled having committed atrocities, sexual violence against women, children, and the elderly, and in some instances, the boy child, they are also given parole. They come and redo the crime again. Number three is that, society has outsourced responsibility to government in everything. These things are happening in our society, and yet we're keeping quiet. In Soweto alone, Fina, you will remember during hard lockdown, there were 933 kids between the ages of 10 and 14 who were pregnant and gave birth while we're still in lockdown. It means these things were happening within their families. And another, in conclusion, as a remark, the church, which was supposed to be the center of everything, which was supposed to be the leader, now we are skeptical. People are skeptical against the church. In Free State, a pastor has been convicted. In Northwest, a pastor has been. In Limpopo, there are 3 pastors that were convicted. Someone is going through the process. So the center is not holding even in our society. Hence, we still have this anomaly. We have the moral decay and the sense of Ubuntu has gone down. We have got these churches mushrooming every day. Yet some of them, they're self-serving. They are preying on young kids, women, and the vulnerable people. So that's why we still will have this scourge, because we also, as communities and as activists, we have disintegrated. Mandisa is talking about the total shutdown, which was very, very vocal. And we ask ourselves, where's total shutdown to assist some of the institutions like Soul City, Commission for Gender Equality, Human Rights Commission? So that is something where we need to go to the basic, because something is wrong somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. I won't add. Let me take the next, reflection. Mandisa, do you want to go next?
I think the issue starts with one, our response services are inadequate. For example, the command center went down completely at some point last year. Civil society organizations needed to wail to government to get it back up again. Tutuzela care centers, for example, are still not resourced with forensic nurses, or alternatively, at some stages, they don't have the necessary rape kits in order to be able to do their jobs. When we talk about, I know that prevention should always be where we start, but even when we speak about prevention, how many organizations are doing prevention work on the ground? How many behavioral change programs are really available to people and go to where the problems are? Are we having these conversations in our taverns? Are we having these conversations in our churches? Are we having these conversations in our schools? what is going on with regards to our life orientation programs in schools and how effective they are in conscientizing our youth around gender roles, specifically around violence. What should they do in an event that they find themselves in violent situations? Also, training around conflict resolution mechanisms. I think that is one of the major reasons why personally I got involved in the national dialogue process, because the national dialogue process is a conflict resolution mechanism first and foremost. And we need to, as a country, find ways to be able to actually deal with our own conflicts, be they in our relationships, in our workspaces, in any dynamic. I mean, currently we are having a crisis of, for example, Uber drivers versus the taxi associations. What kind of conflict resolution mechanism are we putting in place in order to resolve that issue? If we are not able to deal with anger management practices and have conflict resolution mechanisms, then we'll always be working backwards. Because yes, we can ask government to resource things. We can ask government to resource response. We can even ask governments to resource prevention. But if we do not have the tools to manage anger, if we do not have the tools to manage conflict, then we're going to find ourselves right back at square one all over again. Thank you.
Thank you for that reflection, Bishop.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think I will concur with the Jabu in terms of not having a political will, but also there is something that we are lacking here in South Africa, enough and fair education about GBV. When we talk of GBV, we talk of something that talks mostly about physical abuse, forgetting that maybe if we take time to talk about GBV as it is, we could rescue our nation, because everyone will see the part that he or she is contributing with in this sketch. But for now, we find out that when we talk about GBV, it is as if we talk about physical abuse. But I would like to say there is no enough education about GBV. As a result, it's very difficult for it to be solved. It's true that when you see us here as South Africans, it sounds as if we are full of anger from something else that maybe might have happened unto us, which leads us to a space where we abuse some others one way or the other. But as I've been saying, that maybe if we can expose enough information about GBV, everyone will see the responsibility of making sure that it becomes eradicated. But at this point in time, there are some other people who feel that they are exempted from being the part of initiating what you call gender-based violence. Those are the people who don't understand that gender-based violence is also involving emotional abuse, psychological abuse, etc. I mean that if we can be in South Africa, when we talk about GBV, we become fair in terms of not being economically in the information we sharing. We share the information that favor us, but we share the information as it is so that everyone will take and find him or herself being responsible, so that all of us, we will see the way out of this sketch. I think most of the time we need to take it upon ourselves as South Africans to make sure that when we stand before people, we don't speak a half truth, because also half truth is what has destroyed our nation, where a person is not saying everything about what is happening, but saying what he likes or she likes, or what some of his friend likes or her friend likes, so that he can excite his friend or excite her friends. But if we can move away from that and face the reality that people are dying, and no matter we can say people are dying in the hands of men, it's true. We are saying, as Sukumando Dasaken, those men must be arrested. But on top of that, we should understand that GBV has got an abuse that is psychologically. And we try to make sure that we put effort in dealing with the psyche of the people in South Africa, because most of them are abused one way or the other. That's why they find themselves doing things which they can regret when they see those things and the repercussions thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you for those reflections. And as you were talking, you know, I was saying to myself, so if we were to reimagine, you know, a South Africa then that doesn't have gender-based violence. I mean, Mandisa, you touched on issues of conflict resolution, helping people to deal with their anger, right? So it means we need schools, and I'm using inverted commas, because we don't have money, I believe, to take everyone to school. So platforms that already exist become those schools, your taverns, your church, you know, the school itself, the society, it's already every weekend, every month, wherever we get to chill and socialize, should then become a school where we educate one another. Platforms like this one, right? So what will it look like if we were to reimagine a South Africa that doesn't have violence, where men no longer carry that label, Bishop Nkunu, of being perpetrators, right? Because that's the label they carry right now. You know, and you are right in saying we don't do enough education, or where education is done, people are despondent, they are, you know, I don't know, they no longer care, or because it's not happening to me yet, I don't see the need, you know, to involve myself. So I'm trying to see what does that South Africa look like? What do we need to put in place, or what do we do? And let's not even talk at high level, because institutions are there, your CGEs, your organizations, all these ones are there. But at the level of community where I reside, you know, in my home, my neighborhood, you know, in my extended family, what does that look like? What contribution do I make at that level? You know, because I don't think all of us will wait on government forever. There must be something we start doing, because government has not come to the party where it matters. There are things that it does very well, but we still see those gaps that all of you were mentioning here. So where do we start? In Tatemtunu, you run a church, you know, in your church, you know, what does prevention look like at the church level? What message do you preach to get men to say, as a man who goes to this church, I will not be one of those pastors that Jabu was telling us about, because he mentioned quite a number of pastors who, and we know them, we know your Omotosos and many others, you know. So let's take it to our level.
Thank you very much. Maybe before I go to that level of being in church, let me start by saying maybe we need to start by thinking before we label people with words. Because now we want to make sure that we eradicate gender-based violence. Let me make an example, Fina. You are saying South Africa is taking men as the perpetrators. You are true. Most of the time when people stand there, they say men are perpetrators, and we accept that. And we're saying, let's deal with the crime as it is. If a person has killed a woman, that person should be arrested. But when we get into the issue of perpetrators and victims, let's look at the abuses that are under gender-based violence as a whole. But if you are abused one way or the other, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should resort in assaulting or hitting or killing somebody. But when we deal with this stage, we should say we have perpetrators, we have victims. But when we look at the perpetrators and the victims, we should also look at all the abuses that are happening within the gender-based violence, so that at least we deal with this from the roots. Because for us to deal with this from the roots, when we point fingers to women and say women are perpetrators because they slap men, or they they hit men, or they assault men, we mustn't forget that that can also prolong solving GBV, because it might happen that the perpetrator was the one that makes that women to be psychologically mad. And if that woman is psychological mad, being abused psychologically, we need also to say that one is a perpetrator, even though it's a perpetrator of something that we can't put as an evidence before the court. But in a sense of making sure that we deal with GBV, we must not run away that some other perpetrators are perpetrators because they are abusing others psychologically, they are abusing others emotionally, they are abusing others even they normally say even financially. So if we talk of victim and the perpetrator, when we want to solve this, we must know that we can't just point fingers and saying that that lady has killed her husband because um, she's a perpetrator. No, we must say who is the perpetrator in this one. It means that who initiated this. And if we say who initiated this, it's not that we are going to fight with that person, but we have to deal with if maybe she initiated or he initiated that before he was killed by her woman, then we should know that he initiated that by abusing this woman psychological. But I'm trying to say, before I get into what you are saying, Fina, I'm sorry to take long. I'm trying to say, let's make sure that when we say, let's not put face at the first hand to a man or a woman when we talk about perpetrators. But let's make sure that we know exactly that this perpetrator has perpetrated this coming from which direction, started
Yeah.
with what as the abuse. Let me go to what you were saying. Um, I agree with you. We normally say when a person has done wrong, it doesn't matter who he is. If you've done crime in South Africa, you must be arrested. And you see this thing, as Jabu was saying, of having bails and others, because you've got money, you can have money for the bail. It's something that should be stopped in South Africa. If a certain case has been done, you should be arrested, you should be given the punishment that you need. Unto
Yeah.
us as the churches, we are against those people who are abusing young girls, who are abusing women, who are abusing old women. And we are
Yeah.
saying if they are found doing that, they must be arrested. Thank you.
Thank you. I was about to take the mic from you and pass it on to Mandisa. I think from the start, Bishop Mtuni has been alluding to the different forms of GBV, the visible ones and the invisible one. And I think many of us know the physical ones, like he said, because like in a blue eye, people will see that this one is being abused. But the emotional abuse is a bit subtle. It's not that obvious. You are driven to a point of madness, right? As you rightfully said, because you are gaslighted. Somebody is trying to make you feel like you are not sane. Mandisa, how do we expand the definition. It was a question that was put there beyond the physical, so that, like Kunu is suggesting, we then deal with all forms, because then one, leads to the other. You are driven to a point where you end up either retaliating, or we see the cycle being perpetrated as well. How do we get to, at the level of individuals, educate? Because I think what we're trying to do is create awareness and educate before we become technical about the policies and the whatever. Some people will never even understand what policy is. But if you say to somebody, if a man doesn't ask for permission before they have sex with you, there's a violation. They've conducted an act of GBV. How do we simplify it? What do we do? What do we need? What level of education do we need at community level?
We need an understanding of power dynamics. To be honest, most GBV comes from imbalance in power. What do I mean? Mina, I'm a 35-year-old man and I'm dating a 16-year-old girl in high school. Besides the fact that this child cannot consent because they are not an adult, I am not seeing the power dynamic that I'm creating, because this person, how much power do they have in that relationship? So that means they're open to abuse. E.g., I am fine. I'm a worker. I work at a mine. My wife is unemployed, and I use my financial resources in order to control her in the relationship. Yes, I might not beat her, but then I'll withhold groceries for a week if she and I argue. That is financial abuse. I am in a relationship, even better. This is one that a lot of South Africans excuse because it's women. This thing of little boys breaking their virginity with umama osebenza ekhaya, or the next door neighbor who's an older woman, and then seeing it as a victory because, I scored, is actually a form of sexual violence all on its own, because the power dynamic is that you are still a child and that is still an adult. So a lot of GBV comes directly from imbalances in power relations. What we need to help people understand at a ground level is makukhona power dynamic that we don't, and that creates an imbalance. The chances of you being more vulnerable to ending up in a GBV situation are high. If I don't have my own money and I go on a date with this man who now is demanding sex from me because he's bought me alcohol, I don't have money to Uber myself home. What is the likelihood that I might end up in a situation that is dangerous for me? Power dynamic. So it's really understanding power within relationships, making sure that we try and find a power balance, or even if we are the ones that have the power, we treat our partner as an equal. Yabana, if we can get that right, being able to treat each other as equals, a lot of these things would be easily resolved. A lot of the conflict management, and even roles reversed. I mean, I was doing Tavern Dialogues during COVID, and I heard horror stories from men around how they don't get dished up meat anymore. The children get the meat, and because they are no longer providing because they lost their jobs due to COVID, they only get isopo with the rice. The chicken is only given to the children. That is abusive. You cannot be withholding food from your partner because they have lost their job. That is abusive. We need to understand that it does not just come in the form of physical violence, but that is emotional abuse. And of course, the partner will then end up retaliating physically. And then, as Ubabumtunu was saying, we then don't know where the origins of this abuse actually came from. We need to manage power dynamics within our relationship context and be able to use conflict resolution mechanisms in intimate partner relationships in order to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Jabu, piggybacking on what Mandisa is saying, the power dynamics, it's not, sometimes it's also with equal, professionals. We are both professionals. You are a lawyer, I'm a lawyer, you are a lawyer, I'm a doctor. And you find that even in those kind of relationships where the power dynamic you assume is sort of on an equilibrium, abuse still finds its way there, because then I get the church will say the man is the head, he's the one who makes the rules. Even culture will say that. And the story in Imba actually, I find very interesting if you watch it. It exactly portrays, what we see and what maybe many relationships look like, right? So is it power dynamics only, or beyond power dynamics, there are other things that push this agenda, abuse in relationships?
Thank you, Fina, for that question. And I agree wholly with my fellow panelists. Is there also the issue of entitlement with us men? The entitlement, the patriarchal norms and values that are embedded in our socialization and upbringing. Take, for instance, those who go to initiation school in the Eastern Cape. When they come back, they've got this funny thing called Hlasela Futa, where they test drive with older women and small girls. And think about the us from Limpopo, whereby when we come back with vulgar disrespect, demeaning, condescending, objectifying women, because we are taught about aggression and disrespecting women. That goes to entitlement. And also, the church, sorry, Bishop, not you, the church must take a blame now, because the pastors are not moving with times. There's that verse which says, gives men to say you are the head of the family, not knowing and looking at the situation now. Men were the head of the family, where they were migrant workers just like us from Limpopo. My wife will be back at home. Now the wife is working, we're earning same salary or even not more. How do you then deal with that insecurity as a man? And deal that, because you put unnecessary burden, like Mandisa said, during COVID and after COVID. That's where we realized, even statistically, majority of men are killing themselves because of that and fitted burden on them to say you are the head of the family. Should they lose their family, even the wife mistreat them? I know a situation, a friend of mine, when it was just merely suspended, the wife moved from the bedroom to say, I can't deal with this situation. And it was bad. The guy was even admitted psychologically. So those are some of the root causes that the bishop have said. So we need to remove this issue of entitlement and the socialization of a boy child to say, let us deal with this issue in the right way and say, look, even this issue, Mondays are taking a girl child and a boy child to work, shouldn't be separate. We must teach them the same thing, the same room, so that they understand the year from the other side and they hear the other side on the issue. Because as men also, we have got wife in violence. We're not taught how to resolve conflict. How we're taught to resolve conflict is through beating someone, is through insulting, is through raping someone. Because most women, they're dying in silence, they're being raped every day. A man comes 3 o'clock in the morning and just demand whatever it's like, is a body, it's entitlement. Somebody's body is their playground. So those are the causal effect of why, because we're not doing education enough. Just like in my church, every Tuesday, there's Super Tuesday, where we talk to men. I've spoken to more than 1,000 men of our church. Yet the cases of gender-based violence, they're emanating. When they emanate, Fina, they call me on the side. What are you going to do about this? We are going to follow the law and deal with it decisively. So the issue is that, we want to sugarcoat something if it's someone within your families. I had a brother whom I even told, you are going to divorce your wife. You cannot kill someone's child because you are a violent person. And next time it happens, I'm going to report you. That is the role I'm playing in my corner. So entitlement, insecurity, and a burden that is placed upon a man being a head of a family, it's some of the causal effect.
Thank you. And I like that already you are talking about actions, because we are mobilizing action here. We cannot continue with the status quo, where you are saying, I will report my own brother. Because many of us in our families, we are perpetrators because of our silence. We know, right? And I always tell these stories to Harangwa because that's where I grew up. Harangwa, when boys become of age, maybe it's a practice everywhere, I don't know. But they have their small rooms outside. They are given that freedom to say, now you can bring girls home. We don't want to be in your business. Do your business outside. And I know many of those mukukus, around 2 a.m., whatever, you'll hear, a young woman screaming for help, because now the young man is exercising whatever power he has over this woman. And many families will stay there in their house and not come out to help, and not come out to assist or rescue this girl, because we believe it's a domestic issue. Baratani are fighting. They'll wake up tomorrow and solve their issues. And you see that mentality translating even at police stations, because I saw a question around, are we seeing progress in reporting and whatever, right? You see that also in police stations. I went to a police station last year, accompanying someone. And we got there. We were patient, 30 minutes, we were waiting because we were told the vans are not available. They are waiting for at least one van to come back. But while we are sitting there, this policeman is saying, but why don't you go home and resolve the issue with your man? Would you like it if they arrest him? If you have kids with this man, what about your kids? What's going to happen to your children? I'm sure you guys were just upset with one another. Tomorrow it will be the thing of the past. And I stood up, I'm like, I don't believe I'm hearing this in a police station. Now you must pull rank, right? You get there, you are trying to be a normal citizen, but when you see such things, you now pull rank and you're like, do you know who I am? And I hardly use that phrase, but that day I had to say, do you know who I am? And I can tell you a van was availed immediately when I used, now this is who I am. In fact, I'm recording what you are saying because this is the issue we face, where women are sent back and they never then come back because they are dead, So we find that these norms that are normalized in the home where we don't respond become what service providers also do. A police is a service provider to the communities, a law enforcement, but they end up not acting because they are the ones who were beating their girlfriends back home and no one doing anything. So they expect that should be how things continue. Does anyone want to answer the question on whether or not we are seeing progress? Do we see more numbers being reported? What does that mean? Does it mean we have more cases, or it means we have more awareness? Mandisa, let me give that one to you. This one that is on the screen, this question.
Unfortunately, no, we are not seeing a decline in cases. In fact, we're seeing an increase post-COVID. We are, in fact, where we were at from a rape statistics perspective in 2018, when the total shutdown happened, versus 2025, we are in a worse off situation. Look, some of it is based on population growth. There's just more people to be part of the problem. But the National Strategic Plan for Gender-Based Violence and Femicide is not well resourced for implementation. We've had that conversation now for years. We're not funding the fight against GBV, and as a result of not funding the fight against GBV, we're just not reaching to all the corners. I mean, Lusikisiki is still a problem in 2025. It's a well-documented, well-understood issue. There's one police station that's servicing 100 villages. They have put up a mobile police station since there was the intervention of the Generation Equality Action Coalition. But outside of that, one mobile police station that they've added, it's still the same issue. The main issue in Lusikisiki in particular is rape of elderly persons. Reason being is that young men in the community that are unfortunately on Nyawope are resorting to stealing from Abokoko, and in the process of stealing from them, they rape them. And because it takes so long for the police to respond, they are aware that they're not going to be able to be caught on time. That is the main reason why Lusikisiki is an issue. It's purely a matter of you cannot have one police station servicing such a big area. Now, if you have such a well-documented, well-known issue and it's not being addressed, and they have the number one rape stats consistently in the country, how do you then think you're going to solve the issue in Soweto or in Diepkloof or in Nyanga? when we have identified, we've done the work of mapping, we've done the work of knowing where the hotspots are. For example, GBV looks different in different spaces. Can I give you examples?
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
you know, we're doing 7 dialogues ourselves, and we were doing 7 dialogues in Gauteng, Western Cape, and KZN, and Eastern Cape. In KZN, Inanda has the highest rate of femicide in the country, so they kill more women than anyone else. When we went and we asked the men in that area what is the reason why they are killing women, they're like, no, the issue here is that we have a witchcraft issue. And the only way that you can be able to wipe away the witchcraft that has happened to you is to kill your spouse. So if you are able to get traditional leaders to intervene as well as sangomas in that area, you'll find a decline in GBV rates. But then you have a one-stop shop solution where people think you can do, for example, a behavioral change program around gender dynamics. No, if the problem is witchcraft, then deal with it at a witchcraft level. E.g., in Orange Farm here in Gauteng, the issue here, specifically in Orange Farm, is that the women are the ones beating the men. Some of our Tevin dialogue, we had a Tevin dialogue participant die because the girlfriend stabbed him to death. So you will have that the initiators of the violence are actually women in the area, and the women admit to that at the end of the program, that no, these men only understand violence, so we can only speak to them through impama. So if you do not have an intervention in Orange Farm that deals with the partners and only deals with the men, for example, you're not going to see behavioral change. So I'm just giving two examples of different areas where the GBV stats are high, but we are giving one-stop shop solutions when the issues are completely different. We need to customize solutions to the areas and the issues that they are having, and we need to be as close to the community as possible and not have this top-down approach of I know better, I've been running my organization for years, so I can come and implement a solution in Nyanga that I think will work in Orange Farm. GBV in those two areas looks completely different.
Yeah. And in fact, what we do, Mandisa, is distribute. Yeah. I was saying, Mandisa, in fact, we our interventions, many of the people working in that space, is this distribution of pamphlets. You know, people believe that you go, the way you solve it is to print a lot of pamphlets, go into those communities and do door-to-doors and give people pamphlets, you know. So even our way of intervening is not efficient and effective, because whatever that we are doing is not speaking to the issues. Because probably we give you a pamphlet that say, stop women abuse. If you are abused, report here. But we are not even sitting down to understand why, like you say, in Orange Farm, women are the ones who are, you know, perpetrators of violence to the point where they also kill. And why are we silent on that perpetration? You know, and we only make noise when the women are the ones who are on the receiving end. I saw a pattern recently, Jabu, where there are cases where people feel mobilized. They don't even need to be told. We saw, and I won't mention the specific case, right? But we saw people marching in their numbers not so long ago, because there was a child who, you know, was reported to have been raped, right? And we were mobilized, people were marching, it became a national issue. But we have people that you are dealing with. I'm not seeing marches in the street. The case that I was dealing with yesterday of a 15-year-old who was stabbed 7 times by a boyfriend who's older is not, I'm not hearing about it anywhere else. I'm not seeing people marching in the street. Why are we selective in which cases move us to action and the ones where we say, it's okay, you know?
Fina, thank you very much for that. I think what Mandisa said and what I'm going to say, we are all to be blamed. We look at the quick wins that are on the glare of the media as institutions, not on the cases that of someone whom you have never met. Today, there was a case of a child who was in grade 4 somewhere outside Zanin, who was apparently she was raped by 3 people. It's not in the media. Somebody had me on the radio station and they called me. I sent them to the lawyers. We spoke to the station commanders and they gave us a very wonderful story which showed that, they were working. The issue of media also, I wrote an article some times ago, and I even wrote another one, which in News 24 turned it down yesterday, to say it's a good, valid thing. The way in which media also reports on issues of this and be selective, it brings that issue that Mandisa is saying that, where you want to use the same mechanism of reporting and not unearthing cases where police are failing to do their job, but we want to go to the case where it will give them glory to say they've been working there, because they will concentrate there and forget about a lady that you took to the police station. Because today, lo and behold, I was listening to a podcast of David Mashabela and a crime expert called Tabang. What I've learned from that guy, I wouldn't have learned it at school. He used to be at the police, and he said the shambolic way of training of the police and the manner in which the police are treating citizenry, we allow them to get away with murder most of the times, because some of them, Fina, they can't even write statements. Some of them, the statement are also skewed against the survivors or the victims of gender-based violence. So in a way, media is supposed to be on the side of us in cases that we unearth on the ground. Look at KwaZulu-Natal, where she's talking about Mandisa. I went there to talk to the men of KwaZulu-Natal not so long ago. The cases are so many that, even reporting about them, it's a waste of time now, because the police, some of these statistics are not coming up to the fore. You will see, we'll go with the media, we'll look after this. The guy goes to prison, he gets an LLB or master's in something. What about the family of the person? The media doesn't do a follow-up stories on these issues. When a mother can step someone for raping her own kid and being her own son, and the case it does down like that, as if the mother was that a horrendous person. So the media also need to be hold to a standard of scrutiny to say that, why are you focusing these, following politicians where they're going, instead of focusing with civil society organization, faith-based organization that are on the ground. Get those stories from deep rural areas like Mandisa was saying in Lusukeseki. They won't report about that. They will report about stories about here, Alexandra, around Atcheville, around Harankoa, but they don't go deep rural, how women are facing the burden of gender-based violence daily, whether psychologically, physically, emotionally. Men are entitled. Men have got the upper hand in rural area, provinces. Yet you don't hear those stories. The success stories of Soul City, where you work, Fina, the great stories. If I even go at the website at times, I look at you, the radio podcast that you do, which I once commented that they said, why are women not being allowed here? It's only sisters. But they won't report on those good stories until Fina, they said, Fina presented the paper wrongly somewhere, and then they will say, yes, we knew she can, and they will just pull you down. It will be women reporting on you. So you are very right about it. That's why I said media must take introspection in terms of reporting. Are they on the side of trying to arrest the sketch, or they're trying to make sure that these things it's not finding a finality? Because we need to come to an end to say enough, it's enough. We cannot go on like this, and where women are being killed willy-nilly by the hands of us men in majority. Yet we know the 7.8% men who are being abused, and women have come forward. HSRC report is there. 5 million women are no longer reporting. 5 million, because they've lost faith in the justice system, withdrawal of cases, the attitude of the police. Some of them, they're the abusers themselves. So media must also focus on the judiciary to say why cases are being withdrawn, why Omotoso got away so scot-free. Those are some of the things that, and the commission must also hold people accountable. We have the powers to do so, and then that's supposed to be done. So that, even the media must be aware that tomorrow, issues of gender-based violence need a concrete, concerted effort by all of us.
Yeah, Bishop, let me also bring you in as we are about to wrap up. Unfortunately, this type of topics, you need, days of having these conversations, because 1 hour will never be enough. Where will you start personally as Bishop? Do you work with men? And I'm not sure in the Sukumandoda Sake circle, how many of those men came in as perpetrators? And how many now are saying, I'm no longer perpetrating because what I'm getting in this program has empowered me to deal with my anger issues, to know how to make the center hold. I am a better man. Is a program achieving that? Do you see that? So that we then go into communities and start building more, Sukuma Sakendoda circles.
Thank you very much, Fina. Maybe before I get into that, if you can allow me to say this thing of saying there is the head of the family. It should be understood in its own originality, where we talk of the head as the caregiver, as the people, is the person who is responsible for the family, as the person who protects the family. Because you see now the way we interpret it, it's something that is too far from its originality. That is why I said in the beginning, the other thing that is destroying us is that we talk the half truth. So even the people who are saying you are the head, we can't say you are the head if we didn't see you being responsible, being caring, being loving, being protective. You can't be the head if you didn't do those things. Even previously, they used to say, this is the man, after they've seen the actions that you are performing. I'm trying to say, maybe nowadays we should change now and say in totality, we don't start by saying a man is the head, but we start by talking about the things that are talking to the head. Because if we say you are the head, you take as if every man is the head, whereas it's not. It's the things that you are doing that are putting you in that position. But in the other cases, Fina, we should also accept, as my co-panelists are saying, we should accept that there is something that is happening which is not right. Let me take you further in an issue of saying the people who are lying with the abuse, when they say they are being abused, and sometimes maybe they are not, as we normally hear the cases of the men who become arrested and also women who become arrested with something that is not the truth. And those people are putting us behind because they are making people who are saying the truth to be taken as if they are not saying the truth. I'm saying in the cases that we see, even as we are so surprised that some of other men are out, but people have testified, and the cases are very much showing exactly that things have happened, but they are out. We are surprised, but we can't say much because there were those people who normally go to court and lie to court and say things that some other people are going to discover after a few years that it was not like that. Like a child saying, no, it's my mom who said I must say my father is raped and I didn't do that. You see those things now, they are bringing the issue of not trusting everyone who is saying things. Those are the things that are taking us backwards, whereas we should be forward. But what you are asking, yes, there is a slight improvement because of the resources that are needed in what we are doing. There are some people even who are coming from jail that we met with them and then we engage with them, trying to make sure that we make them to understand that to become responsible has more to contribute in your life and in your family's life and in the society than becoming a perpetrator or a criminal in what we normally term when we meet. So those things,
Yeah.
they help them, because we say the way it's as they are, in terms of them to understand that when you do this, you are not just doing things, but you are doing crime, and you need to
Yeah.
be arrested, you need to be taken to jail. But there is a slight improvement, and the lives of the people we met in the whole of South Africa, because we've gone whole of South Africa, at least they are changing through our engagements, even though we see that they are not enough because of the resources. But we
Yeah.
see the change. Other people, they come and say, thank you very much for what you've done. And to me, I see even my behavior has changed. Even some of them are coming from the families. They are testifying of what is happening in the lives of the people. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. So Mandisa, you wanted to say something as we close. So you'll say what you wanted to say and then give your closing remarks. Then Jabu will take the mic and do closing remarks. And then Bishop, I think this was your closing remarks as we wrap up. And we see that comment, Hunte K, to, where you are agreeing that the media also plays a role in creating sensation around issues and not really helping us to solve these issues. I believe a conversation like this one, we will call it round one. You can never conclude, if we want to empower, educate, enlighten, and shift things, these conversations must continue. Over to you, Mandisa.
I think liaising as stakeholders and also collaborating with each other is really important. And I've collaborated with all of you in the room in terms of GBV cases. I mean, Bishop Pumkunu and I sacrificed our Christmas in 2018 chasing kidnapping cases. I've escalated cases to Javu in terms of, especially during the COVID crisis. I mean, the 2021 unrest, Fina, you are on board with me. So I think that it's important that we work together and we don't work in silos, because there's no one who can take on this challenge alone. It needs to be handled by all of us collectively. And thank you so much for giving us space to discuss this very important issue.
Thank you, Mandisa. Closing remarks, Dr. Baloy?
Thank you very much for this. It was better than excellent. I've learned a lot from Bishop, and thank you, Fina, for your passion. It's embedded in you. Mandisa must also tell the viewers at home that she chased me from total shutdown. We do not want men here. Stand aside. You see, and then but we're working together. And I just love the passion that she has. And Bishop, I am available, Bishop, to be engaged, to talk to men, and would also invite you to some of our churches. We are a movement. We're big. EPCSA South Africa is big. I'm also going to recommend you to the leadership of the church that here's a bishop who, I know your organization very well, because it's good when you hear other voices other than ours. And thank you, Fina, for this. May God bless you in abundantly that, and sorry, not to forget Dr. Kekani behind the scenes, because behind every wonderful project, there's a couple that have got the same vision and same respect and communicate in the same wavelength. And thank you, the men behind the scene. We are here because of you, and we appreciate you, and we love you.
Thank you very much. We're going to close it there. And like I said, I think we need more voices and we need more reflections. So we can take this that we were doing a dry run for the dialogues, Mandisa. We are saying the dialogues must move to communities at whatever platform. So here's a platform that is available already and has started. And I like that on this platform, we reach everyone, not just church people, and I hear the passion when we talk about certain topics like the headship. That's a topic that has caused a lot of problems in many communities, many societies, because it's not understood the same as Bishop was saying. Everybody gives it its definition, that suits them. But what is the origin of this topic here, headship? Where does it originate from and what was it intended to do? Are we doing what is there or we just throwing it as a term. As long as I'm a man, then I can say I'm a head, whatever, So let's close. We close with prayer as we start with prayer. And thank you to everyone who has joined. We've seen those comments. Go to this podcast. It will remain on the Facebook page, on YouTube. Go, and if you have more questions, we have put the number there that you can send a WhatsApp message to, and I promise you we do respond. If you have more questions, you want more clarity on some things, we spoke about different forms of GBV. Maybe today you were hearing for the first time that there's emotional abuse, there's controlling as a form of abuse, that women also can be abusers. You didn't see yourself as an abuser as a woman because you thought abusers are only men. So we are learning a lot. So use that number 076 386 7025 if you have a question, if you want to comment. And to all my panelists, may God richly bless you. Thank you for the hard work that you put in. And we've also put the CGE number there. The hard work that you put in doing in your corner, the little that you are doing, one life saved is more than enough, and we build one brick at a time. So even if we only solve one case every day, it's a build up, to the many cases. Thank you very much. Let us pray. Father, we thank you. We appreciate you. Bless everyone, Lord, who has contributed of their time, and may everyone who has been listening to this conversation introspect, contribute, and do something to make sure that we create a generation, or we prepare for the generations that will come, that will find issues like GBV no longer existing, Lord. We thank you. We appreciate you. Amen and amen. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night. We'll see each other on Sunday. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye, 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 bye.